Hey guys, it's Justin again with another product review. This is the chopper by Northwest Shortline. This is a wood slash plastic slash something else cutter I bought off of Amazon. I saw these posted on Facebook a while back by somebody, but I figured as I was getting a little bit more into scratch building, I would pick one up. Now, I could review this, just cut a couple plates and call it a day, but where's the fun in that? So I'm going to actually build something with this. I'm going to use basically just this, or at least that's the plan. A friend of mine, I believe it was Nick over at Mecha Lab, challenged me to build a Buster Sword. So I'm going to build a Buster Sword. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this for now, put it off to the side. I'm going to start working on this thing, so I guess that'll be good for templates. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my styrene sheet. I'm going to take, this will be fine, I'm just going to sand it down some so that I can draw on it. Yeah, good enough. Okay. Where's my pencil? Alright, so I guess my Gundam's arm is about that long. I guess if I want him to hold a Buster Sword, it would be not actually be long enough. Let's make one longer one. Okay. So that's better. Alright, so we're going to use this for the length. We're just going to cut it about, here, that's fine. Alright, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to square this up so that I don't have any doubts about the shape. And how I'm going to do that is I'm just going to bump up the edges here, just pop that down. Now the only real disadvantage I have to say about this is the length of the blade. Really not very long. I wish it was a little longer, but it's fine for what it is. So I'm going to use that as a pilot line. I'm going to take this little tiny ruler. I'm going to trace this a couple times. Okay, so then we can use that as a line for our straight edge and just pop out each side to make right angles. And then one more cut on all of these, so we have a good shape to work with. Oh god, I pulled the whole thing up. Actually going all the way through. But that's not a big deal. So again, we'll bump that up against this, we'll trace it a couple times. And we have our square, or well, rectangle to work with. Okay, so this is going to represent like the actual length of how long the blade's going to be. Let's see, that's alright, so really the only job we have here is to cut this so that it's not too wide and cut a really nice angle into it. So this is our right angle right here. We're going to mark that. Mark it on the other side. This is our right angle. This is how long I want the blade to be. So maybe about like that. Come across like so. And make it about that wide. Works for me. Okay, so again I'm going to use my ruler here and make sure that all my lines are nice and straight. Keep this at a right angle. Now any lines that you draw are going to be your guidelines. Don't use the actual edge even if you've cut it. It just helps to know that, or to keep everything lined up properly. That one was way off. Alright, so we now have a shape that we can use to start scratch building this thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my knife one last time, for the template anyway. I don't know why that did that, but whatever. I'm going to use this straight edge. I'm going to bump it right up against this. It's fine if it's a little big or a little small. Just as long as it's roughly where you want it. We're not worrying about symmetry right now. That's not the issue. We just want it to be, we want all the angles to be correct. So the size isn't what's really important here, although one might contest that with the fact that I'm building a buster sword. And actually, I think that's a really good shape too, or a really good size. We'll go ahead and cut that anyway. Alright, so I'm pretty content with that. You can use the chopper to chop off the small pieces like that, but that won't be necessary for this. It's super small, so just use the knife. Okay, so that's roughly how big our blade is going to be. Now I want to cut this to be, if you will, sort of like cloud sword. So I'm going to go ahead and chop off. Actually, that's not a really good angle. Let's try the 60 and see what that looks like. That should work a little better. Actually, no. I disagree once again. let's try it at the 45. So I really like that this comes with like predetermined angles for you. It's a little weird to work with them at first, but once you kind of figure out how to use them, it's really convenient. I'm going to go ahead and bump that corner up to there, and that is a little better. So now we've got our template. So Justin, what comes next? We're going to take our chopper and put it off to the side for a minute. Again, if you want, you can put that back and you can see how that lines up. We're going to need a thicker sheet of plot plate. So this is just our template for sizing everything up, making sure it works, and getting it all squared away. I prefer to work with thinner plate when I'm mocking up, I guess. And I use a little bit thicker plate when I'm actually building. But if I'm going to be building something that I need, like symmetry is super important, I'll build it out of thicker plates because I don't want to screw that up. So that is probably all the plot plate we'll need. The only other thing I'm going to need is a rod, which I'll grab soon. Go ahead and take that, press down on it, just gently trace the edge of this, that, and that. And I suppose you'll also want to trace the bottom. That is sort of important. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and cut this a couple more times just to make sure that it's all lined up and make sure it looks good. Alright, now I'm actually going to make another one of these. I'm going to just take the same thing and butt it up against that, because I want the thickness Again, the size doesn't have to be exact, as long as it's somewhere in the ballpark. It's good enough. And that'll work. And those match up pretty close. Good enough for me. Now, do I want another one? I think I do. Just to be on the safe side. And this one's going to be a lot easier to cut. And I can just go ahead and bump that up against the scrap. That up against that. And there we go. Oops. That's why you don't bear down too hard. Alright, good enough. I'll just put that one in the middle. Actually, no, that'll be on the top. Oh, we do have a problem. Alright, so these two match up really good. This one, however, does not. Figure out what angle is wrong. Okay, so we've got 3 pieces of styrene cut in the shape of the blade that we want. The next step is to glue these together. Now, for the sake of demonstration, I'm going to go ahead and super glue them together, I think. Would be the best way to do this. I'm going to use this fancy super glue gel that I like to use so much. Trying to get all over the place, but you know, there's only so much you can do. And I'm going to use the back as a guide. I think using the back is more important than using the bottom or the top. I'm going to use the blade to line that up with the blade. Okay. Now, they're a little offset from each other, and that's fine. That actually works to my advantage. But I use this back edge as my guide, sort of, for gluing, because this back edge is going to lay flat. This needs to lay flat. This can be cut a little bit and, you know, work to lay flat. This is going to be at an angle. This is going to be the actual blade. So, I'm going to let that dry a little bit. And I'm actually going to go in here with some cement. If I can figure out where I put it. I'm going to use these little clamps here. And we're going to use that on all 4 sides, even though they're not perfectly symmetrical. That's fine. We just want them to be bonded so there's no gaps when we go through and sand this, basically. So we're going to let that sit, let that cement cure, and we'll come back and I will show you sanding. Actually, we can use our original guide and start working on the handle. Oh, this pencil. And that's about 6 millimeters, more than fine. And you can check up against the actual template to see how big it is. It's a little bit long, but that's fine. We can cut that down. I almost screwed that up, but go. There we go with that. And that is one of our things for the edge. What that's going to do is go around the bottom here. So that we have a nice border. So I'm going to make a couple more of these little strips and we'll put it all together when I'm back. Okay, so all the glue's cured. I've sanded down the edges just to save you the boring hour it took me to get these nice and straight. They're not perfect still, but I got off the excess on these. The back looks fine, and I filed down my first bevel. So I'm going to start on the second one here. And for this, I'm using this big bastard file, and I'm literally just picking an angle and just going at it. Now you want to try and maintain the angle the best you can, which is arguably the hardest part of doing any of this. And you want to file in one direction, not to be confused with that awful boy band. Now once you get it started, another thing you can do to kind of keep your line straight, you can use the bottom as a guide. and you can draw sort of a line. I'm going to use this Sharpie. I'm going to try and butt that up against where I want my line to be. I'm just going to draw a black edge. No, that was a little messier than I wanted it to be, but it's a decent enough line that you can tell what you're doing. So I'm going to trace that bevel line as close as I can with this. And again, I'm going to stay at the same angle, or do my best to anyway. If you change a little bit, that's one thing, but try not to stray too far from the same angle. And when you start, it's not going to look great either, but just file it in multiple directions and keep chipping away at it. It's pretty good, I guess. It's not exactly what I was hoping for, but it sort of works. So the next order of business is going to be to re-glue this so that the edge, or so there's no seams or anything like that. And then from there, I will sand it with actual sandpaper. And then it'll be pretty much done from that point. We got to put on the guards or whatever and get all that done. So I will be back again once I get this dumb bevel to work with me. Alright, so I got a little carried away and just kind of kept going. But here it is. So from what I did on the what you guys already saw, I sanded this out using some sandpaper. I smoothed it up all the way up and down the sides. It's still not perfect, but it's pretty close, or as close as it's gonna get. I put a 6mm border around the whole edge, and then sanded it to contort with the shape of the entire blade. I put a small piece on the bottom. I cut that down, like I kind of stamped it down and then cut around, and then I used the leftover bits from the trim to build these little support things that kind of hold the blade into place. I think I might actually, like, I sort of want to go ahead and drill through, but at the same time I'm not sure if they line up perfectly. I know they're pretty close, but then I drilled with a very, very, very small drill bit a pinhole, and I put a small section pin in the handle and in the blade so that that's nice and sturdy, and it works really well. And that's pretty much it. So all that's left is to prime it up and make sure that it's nice and smooth, and I can go ahead and stick it on this kit. Well, it's not for this kit, but you know, it fits it. It's a high grade. It's built to be high grade sized, and he holds it up. You know, he doesn't have any weight issues with it. He can hold it. He can actually hold it straight up. So that's that. So I don't think I'm gonna be taking on any more like build challenges. That was neat and it was fun, but you guys are gonna, if I start doing this, you guys are gonna get silly. I can already tell. Plus I still have to finish my railgun. But this was neat and it was fun to do. It took me about maybe an hour. But there you go. So super easy Buster sword. Maybe I'll build another one and give it away, or maybe I'll give this one away. I don't know. I'll figure something out. But go scratch build something, and I'll see you guys at the next video. Later.